9 ancient discoveries that shook the world. You won't believe they actually exist. A child with an elongated skull resembling an alien was discovered in an ancient tomb nearly 2,000 years old. A man whose tongue had been cut out and replaced with a stone lay buried with it still inside his mouth for almost 2 millennia. A noble couple in France was buried without their hearts, because after death, their hearts had been exchanged with one another. And even more disturbing, archaeologists uncovered medieval monks bearing signs of having their flesh carved away before being buried inside an ancient monastery in Africa. But that was only the beginning. In the frozen lands of Siberia, researchers discovered the remains of a young mother and her twin babies who died during childbirth nearly 8,000 years ago. Meanwhile, in Europe, a 6,000-year-old tomb convinced scientists that prehistoric humans may have created a form of telescope to observe the stars thousands of years earlier than anyone ever imagined. All of these are mysterious discoveries that to this day remain some of humanity's most difficult unsolved puzzles. Hello, and welcome to Ancient History, the place where we uncover strange secrets, mysterious tombs, and shocking archaeological discoveries that remained buried beneath the earth for thousands of years. In today's video, you are about to witness 9 of the strangest ancient discoveries ever found in the world. Real stories so unbelievable that even modern scientists still cannot fully explain them. And the deeper you go into these mysteries, the more you may begin to realize something truly terrifying. Perhaps human history is nothing like what we have always been taught. So, are you ready to explore these mysteries with me? If you are, then what are we waiting for? Let's dive straight into the very first discovery right now. The female mummy and enormous treasure in an ancient Peruvian tomb. In the sun-scorched and mystical land of El Castillo de Huarmey, roughly 175 miles north of Lima, Peru, archaeologists recently unearthed a royal tomb dating back over 200 years. This ancient burial site belongs to the Wari Empire, a pre-Incan civilization that once dominated the Andes Mountains long before the rise of the Incas. This tomb is more than just a final resting place. It is a mysterious gateway into the past, where power, ritual, and untold secrets lie buried, waiting to be rediscovered. As the excavation team dug deep into the earth, they uncovered not just one, but dozens of skeletal remains, mummies, and precious treasures buried alongside key figures of this lost civilization. The most astonishing discovery was that of 3 female mummies believed to be queens from the Wari Empire's highest aristocracy. These women were buried with opulent offerings, golden and silver artifacts, and exquisitely painted ceramics. Other skeletons were found wrapped in burial cloths, an important tradition in Wari culture signifying sacred and formal burial practices. However, not all those buried were of noble status. Archaeologists discovered 6 skeletons that had not been wrapped, instead lying awkwardly in the coffins of others. This strange detail led researchers to theorize that these individuals may have been sacrificial victims, chosen to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. Human sacrifice was not uncommon in ancient civilizations, and this possibility adds to the mystery and ceremonial weight of the royal tomb. Miloš Giersch, the co-leader of the excavation project, shared an emotional reflection with Reuters. For the first time in archaeological history, we found a royal tomb of this age. It's a true archaeological treasure, not just for its material value, but for the historical and cultural significance it holds. To archaeologists, this discovery is like uncovering a missing piece of the Andean historical puzzle. While much is known about the mighty Inca Empire, its predecessors like the Wari have remained largely enigmatic. This find not only deepens our understanding of the Wari's social hierarchy, rituals, and art, but also raises an important question about the role of women in ancient civilizations. The fact that 3 queens were buried with such grandeur, surrounded by treasure, proves that women in the Wari Empire may have held significant political and religious power, not merely serving as figures behind the scenes. The excavation is still ongoing, and no one knows what other secrets lie beneath these ancient layers of earth and stone. But one thing is certain, with every shovelful of soil, another vivid and mysterious chapter of history is being rewritten, alive, authentic, and utterly captivating. The 1,700-year-old skeleton of a man missing his tongue, discovered in England. The story began in 1991, when archaeologists were excavating an ancient cemetery in Northamptonshire. At first, it seemed like a routine archaeological investigation, since the cemetery contained many skeletons dating back to the Roman period. But while cleaning the remains of one adult male skeleton, experts noticed something deeply unsettling. Inside the mouth of the skeleton, there was no sign of a tongue. Instead, resting neatly between the teeth was a flat stone. The moment this strange discovery was made, it immediately drew the attention of researchers. The skeleton was later carefully analyzed by scientists from historic England in an effort to uncover the man's identity and understand the cause of this mysterious condition. According to the research findings, the man lived sometime during the 3rd or 4th century AD, more than 1,700 years ago. He was around 30 years old when he died. But the question that has troubled scientists for years is this: why was the man's tongue missing? And why had someone placed a stone exactly where it should have been? Simon Mayes, a biological anthropologist at Historic England, explained that the stone may have been used to replace the missing tongue. However, no one still knows exactly what truly happened to this mysterious man. So was this part of some ancient ritual? In trying to answer that question, researchers developed several theories. Some experts believe the man may have suffered from mental illness and bitten off his own tongue before his death. Throughout history, there have been documented cases of people deliberately harming themselves because of psychological disorders or extreme religious beliefs. But another theory is far more terrifying. Some researchers believe the missing tongue may have been the result of punishment for people considered dangerous because of their words or speech. Simon Mayes pointed out that several ancient Germanic law codes mentioned tongue cutting as a punishment for people accused of speaking dangerously, opposing others, or causing unrest in society. What confuses researchers, however, is that they have found no clear evidence showing that Roman communities in Britain practiced this exact punishment, and that only deepens the mystery surrounding the skeleton. If this truly was a form of punishment, then what had the man done to deserve such cruel treatment? Was he a criminal, a rebel, or simply the victim of a strange ritual long forgotten by history? And perhaps the biggest question of all, who placed the stone inside his mouth after death? In many ancient European cultures, people believed that placing objects inside the mouths of the dead could prevent spirits from returning or protect the living from evil forces. But the case in Northamptonshire is so unusual that experts still cannot determine exactly which ritual it may belong to. What makes this even more fascinating is that this skeleton is not the only archaeological discovery suggesting that ancient people practiced extremely strange burial customs. Across Europe, archaeologists have uncovered skeletons buried with tied limbs, stones placed in their mouths, or bodies buried in unusual positions because ancient societies feared the dead might return to haunt the living. It is possible that this man from England was part of those terrifying beliefs as well. But what makes the story even more haunting is this: after nearly 2,000 years, modern humanity still has no idea what truly happened to him. There are no historical records, no known name, and no information about the life he once lived. All that remains is a silent skeleton lying beneath the earth with a strange stone resting inside its mouth, as if it is still trying to tell a secret that time has never allowed humanity to fully uncover. The tomb, full of treasures of a French prince. At the end of 2024, archaeologists made a significant excavation in the town of Lavaux, located in the Champagne region of France, where they uncovered the tomb of a Celtic prince from the Iron Age, filled with treasures. This tomb, situated in a suburban trade area, contains many valuable artifacts, mostly from Greece and Etruria. Remarkably, the Celtic prince was buried with his chariot in a mound approximately 131 feet wide. The excavation, led by a team from the National Institute of Preventive Archaeological Research (INRAP), began in October of the previous year. Scientists have determined that the tomb dates back to around the 5th century BCE, during the later part of the Iron Age, a period characterized by the use of iron tools. According to research reports, the center of the tomb complex is a 150-square-foot burial chamber dedicated to a member of the ancient royal family, specifically a native Celtic prince. One of the most notable discoveries at the tomb was a large bronze cauldron, once used for holding wine, originating from Etruscan craftsmen from what is now Italy. This cauldron is intricately decorated with 4 round handles, engraved with the head of the Greek river god Achelous, featuring horns and bull ears, along with lioness heads at the corners. Additionally, the archaeological team discovered a Greek ceramic jar depicting the wine god Dionysus and a perforated silver spoon, possibly used to filter wine. This find clearly demonstrates the trade connections between the Celts and Mediterranean cultures. The skeleton of a medieval woman, over 7 feet tall, discovered in Poland. For centuries, ancient cemeteries across Europe have preserved countless secrets about the people who lived during the Middle Ages. But every now and then, archaeologists uncover remains so extraordinary that simply seeing them is enough to leave experts stunned. And on the island of Ostrów Lednicki in Poland, one such mysterious discovery has fascinated scientists for many years. The story began in 1977, when archaeologists were excavating an area near an ancient church on Ostrów Lednicki Island. The site was already famous for containing numerous medieval relics in Poland. While digging through the old cemetery surrounding the church, researchers uncovered a skeleton of unusually massive size buried deep beneath the ground. At first, many believed the remains belonged to a large man, but after careful examination, experts determined that the skeleton actually belonged to a woman who lived sometime between the 12th and 14th centuries. What shocked the research team most was her height. Based on the size of her leg bones, arm bones, and overall body structure, scientists estimated that the woman stood over 7 feet tall, an extremely rare height even among modern humans today, let alone during the Middle Ages hundreds of years ago. Not only was she extraordinarily tall, but the skeleton also possessed one of the largest skulls ever excavated in the region. This immediately raised numerous questions among scientists regarding the woman's health and the kind of life she may have lived. Recently, author Magda Maciak published detailed research about the skeleton in a book titled New Developments in Bioarchaeology of Healthcare. After analyzing the remains, researchers concluded that the woman appears to have lived a life filled with pain and illness. According to experts, she suffered from a rare condition known as acromegaly. This disorder occurs when the pituitary gland produces excessive amounts of growth hormone, causing the body to grow abnormally. People with acromegaly often develop unusually large facial bones, hands, feet, and skulls. That would explain the enormous skull that astonished archaeologists. But the tragedy did not end there. Because of her extreme height and body weight, her spine showed signs of severe joint degeneration. This suggests that she may have endured chronic pain throughout much of her life. In addition, the skeleton displayed multiple other injuries and medical conditions. Scientists discovered evidence that she had suffered broken arms, broken legs, and even signs of pleurisy, a dangerous illness during the Middle Ages, when medical knowledge was still extremely limited. However, what surprised archaeologists even more was not just the condition of the skeleton, but the unusual way she was buried. In this ancient cemetery, most bodies were buried with their heads facing west, following the traditional burial customs of that time. But the mysterious woman was buried in a completely different manner. Her face was turned toward the east, and her arms were bent instead of being laid straight as was customary. Most notably, no burial goods or personal items were placed beside her. According to Magda Maciak, all of these unusual details suggest that the woman likely belonged to the lower levels of medieval society. Her different appearance and illnesses may have caused her to be isolated or treated differently from others in her community. Researchers admit that it is impossible to fully understand a person's emotions from a skeleton alone. However, based on modern medical knowledge, they believe the woman may have experienced severe emotional struggles such as anxiety, anger, sadness, or psychological distress. Especially during the Middle Ages, when people had little understanding of disease or growth hormones, a woman standing over 7 feet tall with such an unusual appearance may have been viewed as a freak or even as a bad omen. Unfortunately, she seems to have been one of those tragic cases. But after lying beneath the cold soil of Poland for hundreds of years, her skeleton is now helping modern humanity better understand ancient medicine, medieval life, and the hardships faced by people who were considered different in the past. The Mummy That Hides Secrets – Challenging Genius. In 2014, archaeologists discovered a unique mummy on the banks of the Nile River in northern Sudan. What made this discovery so remarkable was the appearance of a tattoo on the thigh of the mummy, an unusual and rare mark. After conducting thorough examinations, experts realized that the tattoo was written in ancient Greek, and when transliterated, it read Michael. This led the scientific community to ask, how could a tattoo dating back 1300 years bear a name in such a foreign language? Egyptologists at the British Museum suggest that this wasn't just a decorative tattoo, but could be a religious symbol meant to protect the soul of the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. This discovery becomes even more fascinating when considered in the context of an ancient culture where faith and soul protection played a key role in burial rituals. Could this tattoo be a connection between different cultures, or was it simply a religious symbol unique to that land? This question remains unanswered, and perhaps you too will reflect on the connections between ancient civilizations. Not stopping there, subsequent archaeological discoveries also sparked much curiosity. One special find occurred in 1915, when, during the excavation of a looted tomb at the Deir el-Bersha cemetery in Egypt, archaeologists discovered a severed head of a mummy missing its body, dating back 4,000 years. It wasn't until 2018 that the truth about the identity of this mummy was revealed with the help of the FBI. Through DNA analysis from the mummy's teeth, experts identified the head as belonging to Jehutinakht, an official and governor during ancient Egypt's 11th dynasty. However, before this result, many hypotheses had been proposed, leading people to reflect on the preservation methods for mummies and the burial ceremonies of ancient Egypt. Another mysterious story occurred in Nyarlarinc village, Hungary, where archaeologists discovered most of the ribs, shoulders, and arms of a child mummy holding a tarnished coin in an ancient cemetery. According to experts, the tomb dates from the 12th to 16th century. The child was uniquely embalmed. Upon the child's death, the body was placed in a jar and a coin was placed in its hand. This practice was based on the belief that the coin was payment to guide the soul of the deceased to the afterlife. Dr. Janos Balaz stated that the examination results showed that the deceased was a premature or stillborn child, measuring about 11 to 13 inches tall and weighing between 1.1 to 2.2 pounds. Moreover, this mummy had the highest copper content ever found, leading to new discoveries about ancient embalming methods. The ancient city beneath the lake. Tian Island Lake is an artificial lake located in Chunan County, Zhejiang Province, China. The lake was formed in 1959 when the government decided to build a hydroelectric station on the Tan River, which resulted in submerging a magnificent ancient city at the lake's bottom. Tian Island Lake is famous for its majestic beauty, but few are aware that the splendor doesn't only exist on the surface, but also lies hidden beneath the water. In 2001, experts discovered several architectural structures at the bottom of the lake at a depth of 131 feet, including 265 arches, entrance gates, and bridge works. This structure is called Lion City due to the nearby Mount Wuxi, which lies just behind the city. Lion City has 5 gates, each with a large tower, covering an area equivalent to 62 football fields. Before being submerged, Lion City had 6 main stone-paved roads that connected all the corners of the city, and 290,000 people had to be relocated from the area where their ancestors had lived for over 1,300 years. According to National Geographic, when divers reach a depth of 92 feet, light can no longer penetrate. The lights used by divers only illuminate about 6.5 feet. Despite being submerged at a depth of 85 to 131 feet, the city's architecture remains largely intact, with even the wooden beams and stairs still in place. Experts believe that the surrounding water environment has protected the city, preventing significant erosion of its structures. However, the true answer to this mystery remains elusive, and scientists continue to search for an explanation.